Beyond the doorway waited a large, silent room. Painfully silent. So silent, the ringing of my own ears grew to a deafening pitch. The female Earthling quickly covered my mouth with her gloved hand. The look in her eyes was enough for me to understand. No more talking. We passed long, narrow tables lined by hideous-looking creatures known as the Taranka. Pale and riddled with thick, crooked veins, the creatures' necks fanned out like earth cobras ready to strike. I kept an eye out, fearing they would react as we strode past, but it seemed the female Earthling's presence kept them at bay, though I did sense a few of them watching us as we made our way towards a set of steps. Down the steps led us to a quaint section of the room where a sturdy table stood before us. The entire table was cluttered with half-empty plates, dirty bowls, strange utensils with food still attached to some, and cups of all colors and sizes. Some of the plates were stacked high above my head and threatened to fall at the slightest movement. The female Earthling pulled out a chair and pointed.
"Sit,"
she whispered. A short, wide-eyed creature with a mask over half his face approached the table. The creature carried 2 mugs filled to the rim with yellow-tinted liquid. The female Earthling took the mugs, handed the masked creature a few rocks from her pocket, quickly chugged both drinks, then dropped the empty mug into a hole at the center of the table. From behind the tall pile of haphazardly stacked dishes came a deep, raspy voice.
"Those were, for me."
"Says who?"
"Says the, guy who smuggled in that wampus urine."
2 brutish hands pushed through the dishes, exposing an orange, blotchy face. Thin horns hung downward from both sides of the creature's head, and its large, gentle eyes and bulbous chin made the creature a bit comical to look at.
"Your ship must smell delightful,"
the female Earthling said to the creature.
"When you get triple pay for, delivering the stuff in their original bladders, the smell seems to disappear."
The female Earthling reached across the table, took what appeared to be a black nut, and popped it into her mouth.
"Speaking of smells, did you forget what those, do to you?"
"You know I can't help myself."
The creature slid the plate of black nuts across the table.
"Here, I already ate too many."
The creature glanced over to me. I responded with a smile.
"There a problem, little one?"
"No, I was just exchanging pleasantries."
"Well, you have a strange way of, doing it."
I quickly wiped the grin from my face. "I apologize. I keep forgetting about the smiling." The horned creature leaned back in his chair.
"What's your name, friend?"
"My name is Dean Kill..." Ooh. The female Earthling elbowed me in the side.
"His name is of no concern."
The creature raised its arm and pointed its long, swollen finger at the female Earthling.
"I knew you would, get another partner."
"He's not my partner."
"Well, it's nice to, meet you, Dean of no concern. I'm Gavon Gagaguva Gavagu Gagagvagu. But you can call me Gavon."
The female Earthling whipped a nut across the table, hitting Gavon in the forehead.
"You're an idiot."
"Oh, relax. If he tells anyone, I'll just have him shipped to Delma 4.
Gavon reached across the table and tested my arm with a soft pinch.
He'd make good food for a garper wasp."
"Enough, Ga. Tell me what you found."
Gavon grabbed a spoon from off the table and shoveled a plate full of red noodles into his mouth, then added the empty plate to the pile.
"What's the rush?"
The female Earthling peeked over her shoulder.
"You know how much I hate this place."
"Come on. How often do we, get to sit and eat together?"
"Every time we meet up."
"You know me. Any chance to eat some fine, Taranka cuisine?
Gavone pushed aside some empty mugs, grabbed a hold of a heaping bowl of what appeared to be sliced eyeballs and white liquid, and poured the entire contents into his mouth.
The good stuff.
He mumbled, half choking. He tossed the empty bowl into the stack of plates, sending everything on the table crashing to the floor. I covered my ears as the sound echoed harshly around the room.
Goth, why'd you call me here?
Food dripped from Gavone's lips.
I'm not saving you when you choke.
He released a hearty belch, then sank deep into his chair.
So,
Gavone pointed his finger at my nose.
how'd you teach him his English in, such a short time?
He's a fast learner.
Gavone leaned in close to me, his breath reeking of rotten garble hogs.
You, wouldn't believe how long it took to learn that dreadful language. They don't even follow their own rules. I before E and such. Why have rules if you're not gonna bother to, follow them?
And somehow you figured it out.
She interrupted.
Now tell me why I'm here.
Gavone tugged on his tiny, ill-fitted vest and wiped his mouth with the back of his arm.
So, after you left Sonder Moon, I decided to stick around and, see if I could dig up a fresh lead on that thing we've been looking for.
And?
I, dug a fresh lead on that thing we've been looking for.
Gavone leaned in close and spoke just above a whisper.
I intercepted some, chatter from a couple of inebriated ice runners about a specific item they have aboard.
Where were they headed?
Carve City.
Ice runners never travel out to Carve City.
Exactly. Lucky I tagged the ship.
Gavone handed the female Earthling a small device.
Nobody saw you tag it?
Do they ever?
She slipped the device into her pocket.
That's why I keep you around.
Gavone cleared what dishes, mugs, and bowls were left on the table with one swipe of his arm, causing another dreadful crash. I started to think he may be doing it on purpose. Gavone pulled a map from his boot and spread the map across the table.
If you follow all the leads, minus that time in, Fiddler's Elbow, you'll notice something interesting.
The female Earthling spun the map toward her. The markings created a straight line towards the center of the galaxy.
And, guess where Carve City happens to fall?
That is interesting.
Gavone dragged his finger across the map.
Right in line with the rest.
The female Earthling tapped her thumb on the table.
So we split up. Meet up later at the usual place.
Gavone rolled up the map and slid it back into his boot.
Sounds like a plan. So what are we, eating?
I can't stay.
Gavone's jaw hung open.
We should celebrate with a heavy meal and some strong, drink.
Don't start celebrating yet. For all we know, it's a trap.
You think everything is a trap.
That's why I'm still alive.
You're still alive because of me.
Fine, but you're buying.
Gavone shoved himself from the table and headed down the stairs. He was much taller than I had expected. The female Earthling followed him.
Sit tight. We'll be back.
Once the female Earthling and Gavone were out of sight, I took a look around the strange room. The Taranka sat quietly at the tables. Why were they there? The tables were clear of any food or drink. I stretched over the back of my chair to get a closer view, and slipped, knocking the translator from my pocket. I stood from the chair and crouched to feel around the floor, eventually finding the translator resting on a chunk of half-chewed food from under the table. As I climbed back into my seat, to my horror, I noticed one of the Taranka staring back at me. I wanted to run and find the female Earthling, until a calming voice floated through my mind. It told me it was okay to switch my translator back on. The voice was logical and calm, and an eagerness to wear my device overwhelmed me. Maybe I'll just put it in for a moment, I whispered to myself. I held the translator between my fingers, pushed it into my ear, and turned it on. Instantly, my head filled with a million screeching voices. I screamed out and fought to remove the translator, but failed. The screeching voices traveled down my spine, rendering my arms and legs useless. My eyes watered, my nose ran, my teeth vibrated so fast I was sure they would shatter. Through the shroud of vibrating pain, I could see 2 figures approaching. An outside voice said.
Yes,
Said another voice. The larger of the 2 figures reached down and yanked the transmitter from my ear, bringing instant relief. Above me stood the female Earthling and Gavone.
You deaf?
No. Gavone handed the translator back to me.
You lasted long. Most go deaf within the, first few seconds.
I wiped the drool from my mouth and did my best to reclaim whatever dignity I had left. It was an accident.
They must have turned it down.
What happened?
You enjoyed but a sample of the, most powerful translation jammer in the known universe.
The female Earthling studied me for a moment.
Let's get out of here before you eat the grot.
Gavone grabbed a few nuts from the table and tossed them into his mouth.
Say hello to, Rusty for me.
Gavone bent down and looked me in the eyes.
It was a pleasure meeting you, Dean of No Concern.
I again accidentally smiled as we shook hands.
He would definitely eat the grot. No doubt in my mind.
Gavone lumbered down the stairs, past the table full of Taranka, and into the void. The creature with the mask returned.
Every time. Ga leaves, I get stuck paying.
She pulled several rocks from her pocket and tossed them to the masked creature. The creature grunted and hopped in place. She tossed another rock on the table. The creature stopped hopping. The female Earthling pushed her chair in and led me down the stairs. We strode between the long Taranka-filled tables towards the door. May I ask what it is you and Gavone are looking for?
A helmet.
A helmet? Is that all?
Our client has a list of exotic items they would like to own. One of them happens to be a very specific helmet.
So, your client is a collector?
Among other things.
And he pays you and Gavone to collect stuff for him?
He pays whoever brings it to him first.
All at once, every Taranka in the room stood from their tables and made their way toward the exit. The female Earthling stopped me with her gloved hand and quietly waited for the room to empty.
It's time to go.
Are we heading to Carve City?
Not you.
Where am I going?
Home.
She slipped the hood over her head and marched toward the door.